Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Simon on the Sofa. And this is Simon on the Sofa with Tara LeAnn Eriksson. And if you are not familiar with us both, then you may not have seen the conversation we had already. This is like a not a part two, more of a continuation on a topic that came up at the end of the last conversation on the sofa with myself and Tara. And this, we really wanted to do a conversation around menstruation and the film that Tara's been a little bit involved in, created a beautiful song for, and it's really all about, yeah, just bringing some awareness around this aspect for, not just for younger women that are going through the process, but just across the board, you know, men, women, the whole lot, and just to have a conversation about this. And really for me to show up and get some education in this area as well. So welcome, welcome Tara, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
So do you want to maybe just start, and just for the people watching, so that they're straight in and understand what this is about, and just maybe give us a little backstory into the film Monthlies and, you know, and what this is about.
Yeah, well, the film Monthlies is actually kind of a sequel. The first film that Diana Fabianova, the filmmaker, made was done in 2009, and it was called The Moon Inside You. And that film was a little bit more targeted at adults, 2 hours, something long, a little bit edgier, quite a lot of information about the medicalization of menstruation, and a lot of urban scenes, and a lot about the taboos and the negative images that we're given as women, and the issues that we face when we have difficulties. How most of the options that are given women these days have to do with hormonal supplements, or, you know, there's very little offered in terms of natural ways that a woman can actually experience menstruation and her body in a more effortless way. You know, everybody just says, oh yeah, you just need to go on the pill. I was really shocked. So, but to back up, basically that was the beginning of it. Diana made this film in 2009, and I didn't know about it then. And in about, I guess it was late 2012, she did an Indiegogo fundraiser campaign, because everyone said, hey, we've got this great film about menstruation, but it's targeted at adults. We really need something for girls. We need something positive, some kind of really great, inspiring, gentle, fun way to introduce this concept. And so she went and did this crowdfunding campaign. And that's how I found out about it. And I was so excited when I saw it. I just thought, if I had had something like this when I was 8 years old, 10 years old, I don't know what difference it would have made, but made it sure would have been positive. And I got so excited, and I wrote to Diana, because I have 2 daughters, and I said, how fast can I get this DVD? Really, you know, I want to support you in every way that I can. And at the bottom of my my email was my normal signature with links to my music. And she, for some intuitive reason, followed the links, discovered my music, and wrote back to me and said, would you please write a song for this film? And it was really beautiful. I was so excited to support it. So that's how this all started.
Lovely.
And
so you said yes.
I said yes, yes. It was really a very exciting thing.
Yeah, your whole body had already said yes, even just by the way that you contacted her and
yeah.
You know, and needed, you know, wanted to get involved.
Yeah, and it was so beautiful. Then I had an idea early on that the song was going to be called My Body Knows, but I didn't. It was the first time I'd ever written a song on purpose with some kind of deadline. It was really interesting, because up until then I'd written many songs, but they always just kind of came through whenever they wanted to, and you know, and this was like, okay, song please, you know, and it happened. It was really beautiful.
Yeah,
and
wonderful. Yeah, I've seen that film, and you recorded it, and that's now out there on the video as well, isn't it? Yeah.
So and then the Monthlies film has been released. It was released May 28th. It's a beautiful 28-minute long film. Very, very touching, very sweet. Lots of animation. I really think that girls even that are 5 or 6 years old would benefit from it. For the moms who are comfortable enough to be introducing this at that age. And I think that's the age we see. I've seen such a big shift in the girls right around, what is it, 8 years old, 9 years old. All of a sudden, they've been affected by our society, and they're embarrassed. They're shy. They don't want to talk about it anymore. But before that, they're just curious. They're like, you know, kids, and they're, hey, isn't this cool that this happens? And if it can be presented in that way, what a difference. Because actually, I really feel so deeply that this is the root, one of the root wounds in our society, the image that we women have of our bodies, and this shame and disgust that we're taught to feel for the most sacred space that we have. It's the place where we can create another human. I mean, how much better does it get than that?
Yeah,
and of course, that's really scary. That's why, you know, the patriarchal culture and everybody was scared of that power that women have, that men don't have. And it's very connected with every form of creativity and creation.
Yeah.
So when we're not ashamed and not feeling bad about that part of our body, I think it's very hard for us to be abused. I think it's because of ourselves letting ourselves be treated badly, because we've got this idea that there's something in us that's dirty and shameful.
Yeah, wow, I mean,
it's huge. It's really
it's huge. It's huge. It's so, you know, just like, you know, what you just shared there is just huge. You know, from like 6, 7, 8. I was speaking to somebody just yesterday, a young girl, and speaking again around just how when you're sort of 6, 7, 8, and you start to just judge yourself deeply from that space, and then the unworthiness, and like you just said, the shame and guilt comes in. So I think the film that you're talking about, I didn't get to watch it this week, and I know we only spoke last week, but I would love to see it, share it, and put it around. But the film that you're talking about is highlighting a way of making this this beautiful thing that's happening to be seen as a beautiful beautiful experience. Yeah, to be celebrated.
You know, there are these 3 transitions that I mentioned to you last week that happen in a woman's life. It's this menarche, going into menstruation, becoming a woman, becoming a mother, which happens to some women and not all. For the women who doesn't happen to, it can be in other ways. It can be a creative birth, which is also very powerful. And then menopause, when we have a life, our life force is no longer renewing in the same way, but actually gets channeled into other forms and goes into higher forms of wisdom and being able to give back to the community in new ways. So very powerful to be able to mark all 3 of those transitions with celebration and joy and welcoming, rather than, you know, saying, okay, this is a medical problem, you need to be hooked up to an IV machine, now you're going to give birth. I'll never forget the birth thing. Is, I think Diana is talking about making her next film on birth, actually, and I'm very involved with birth, and I've got a good friend on Bali, Robin Lim, who's a well-known midwife, who's going to be visiting here in September. Actually, if you want to do interviews then, we can talk about that too, because she's an amazing, she's a force of nature.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to continue the dialogues around this and spread it out. But just say those 3 stages again for me, because the phone rang. I got slightly distracted, and as you just started to speak on the 3. So just for people listening as well, let's just repeat those 3 stages.
So there's menarche, the moment that the girl becomes a woman and starts menstruating. There's motherhood, when a woman gives birth. Again, this can be a creative process as well. It doesn't have to be a physical child. And menopause, when we stop menstruating.
Yeah,
very important to honor and celebrate
all of those, and not only celebrate those parts, but also from like an early stage start celebrating. I mean, the movie is called Monthlies, but start almost celebrating that monthly experience as well.
Yes.
And we spoke about that briefly on the last conversation, of how, you know, at that time when a woman is going through that period, is to understand from a man's perspective as well, to understand, you know, where they're at and just be there for them. You know, and somebody joked last week, didn't they, in the comments, and said that all a woman needs is chocolate at that time, and to be, you know, to be hugged and cared for, and you know, and that's a great example of actually just being there, nurturing and supporting. And I just want to just trek back a little bit, because I think it's great for this conversation and powerful, is how, yeah, that force, that energy, that creation, that powerful energy that a woman bestows within her, you know, and how life comes through her. And then how that's so suppressed, and then how, you know, the masculine, the man, or, you know, the male energy is as through their own also inability of understanding and their own shame and guilt because they don't understand it either, and neither does the woman, then there's also seems to be that then that's a way of you know, deeply being, what's the word, derogatory, misogynistic, and all these other aspects of the way that a man treats a woman and pretty much can belittle her, put her down. I mean, you're talking abuse, mental, physical, emotional, women's not liking their body, going into, you know, we're talking self-harm here. I mean, you know, the list is endless, you know. Body abuse, bulimia, all of this stuff comes from, you know, not having the awareness and understanding of from a young age what a woman is about to go, and it's sort of like it's millions of years, hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years that, you know, we should know this stuff, right? Why is it so like ignored and taboo?
Well, we knew all of these things. I mean, if you look back at what evidence we have of human culture from millennia, from tens of thousands of years ago, it was a matriarchy. Humans were matriarchal, and we worshipped the goddess. You look at all the statues that they dig up from 30,000 years ago. So there was a transition point that happened. I mean, that's a whole nother topic. But I want to get back to something that you were saying about the time when we are menstruating.
Yeah. Women.
There's a beautiful movement called the Red Tent movement now. It's spreading all over the world. And, you know, back in the day, I guess the red tent thing comes from the biblical times when women were expected to go and be in a different place when they were menstruating. And that was the red tent. And it's really easy to say, oh, isn't that horrible? They were asked to disappear and all of that. But actually, there's been some reclaiming of the... I'm really just starting to explore this. Menstruation is a time when we really need to nurture ourselves. And we as women generally are giving, mothering, and not really taking such good care of ourselves in this society. And this is a time when it's actually not a bad thing to have a personal retreat and say, I need a couple of days of quiet, inward contemplation, supporting myself, nurturing myself, you know, whether it's with chocolate or whatever. I don't know if the raw chocolate might be a good idea. Raw chocolate's a great idea, but not sugar, you know. It's and also to understand that when there are problems physically with pain, with cramps, with all the different things that happen these days with women's ovarian cysts and all the issues that women are having these days, so much of that really just needs movement and diet and different ways of dealing with it. Diana, who made the film, the reason she made the movement inside you was that she wanted it was about her search for finding a way to be comfortable in her body and have comfortable periods. And she discovered belly dancing, for example, as a really great way to deal with menstrual cramps and pain. There's so many different things we can do that are really fun.
Yeah, yeah. So it can be a fun. It can be celebrated. It can be an opportunity to experience life in a much more beautiful way and actually being present with what's happening rather than going into avoidance where, you know, put a damn Tampax in, close it up, and, you know, and just you know, get on with 9 to 5 work, live in, and pay your bills. It's like, wow, how are we so disconnected?
Yeah, yeah. And also, you know, women who are living in community together have a tendency to switch, their cycles shift to be in sync with each other. They're in resonance. I've never heard that. And so this red tent movement thing is interesting because back in the day there would have been, when there weren't any electric lights, the women menstruated with the moon. You know, there was, I guess generally full moon is ovulation and new moon is menstruation, and that was a natural cycle. So the red tent was a place where women actually gathered without the men and nurtured each other in that beautiful female way. And so much of what's happened in our modern world is about competition among women, and you know, the women have become men in many ways. You know, there's this pushing. Like you said, it's a survival thing, 9 to 5 job, and have to be good at all the mental stuff. And
and be the best, and be strong, and be strong, and almost embody that masculine, like you just said. The beautiful word here is the competitiveness, the competition, isn't it?
and competing against each other. There's something disastrous for society when women, and this is what's happening with all of the models, all of the image that's put out for young women in the media. As I know you've talked to other people about this, I'm sure, you know, it brings such a negative body image for most of the young girls because it's not even real anymore. It's all photoshopped, right? So these women are seen as whatever perfect means, you know.
Yeah.
And they're in competition with the image that they think they need to be like. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, that's. I mean, again, you know, that's like you said, we could go into a whole area on that. You know, so we got, you know, because it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's all that outward expression of what's been going on internally for so long. So because there's been that suppression, and then we talk about the patriarchy, we talk about, you know, the masculine's power over women for, you know, for centuries and centuries. And then you see the women trying to merge through now. We've got that wonderful time where women did sort of claim back a bit of their power, but from the masculine side.
Yes.
And then now we're seeing how we can sort of, the integration and the balance of that is slowly coming back. You know, there are women that are embodying both sides, and also men and so on. And even just these conversations, these movies that are being made are really, I feel, vital, because it's in the awareness that we can start to, you know, bring in new ways of showing up. Because when you just said women all meeting together and hanging out, and even whether the men are involved in not, because, you know, even just men knowing that, you know what, oh great, you know, Tara's going over with, you know, Debbie for the couple of days, and they're going to hang out and be together, and that's wonderful, and I'm going to be dropping her off, and I'll pick her up, and, you know, and even something loving like that, or even imagine for children, you know, you bring in the community, the mothers bring the children together, and, you know, and they maybe you know, share a film, talk about it, say, don't worry, it's a beautiful experience, it's wonderful, we're celebrating it with you, let's do some belly dancing, you know.
Yeah, it changes it completely. And when it can start young enough, then there's not this whole embarrassing thing of, oh, I don't want to do this. But, you know, when we did the premiere here in Cologne at the end of May, or I guess we did it June 1st here in Cologne, I was really glad that about half of the audience were teenage girls. So that was really cool. There were who came with their moms, you know. So it's happening. There's definitely an awareness and an openness that wasn't there before.
Yeah, and that's really lovely. That's lovely to hear. So I think I mean, that's beautiful what we've shared. We know the film there. The links on the film are going to be below the video, and I'll put some links on the screen as well for people to see. Is there anything that, other than go to the website and get involved, from your perspective, and if we just talk to maybe the younger generation here that may or may not watch this video, but if they do, but just, or even parents that have young children, you know, I know we just sort of shared a few things like they could get together, but, you know, how do we also educate the young men, you know, from 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, you know, how do even fathers communicate to their sons about it as well, you know? There's that aspect of it, isn't there? Yeah,
that's true. And I think obviously the very best way is that there's not anything, that it's not seen as a negative or taboo thing in the family ever, you know, and that from the get-go. But then dealing with that, you know, if you've got a 10-year-old now or a 15-year-old now, open communication, it's your thing too, right? Transparency is, it's really, there's a wonderful book out now that just came out also. There's a group called the Crimson Movement in Australia that's also promoting the same awareness of menstruation and positive images. And the book is called Cycling to Grandma's House. And
okay, nice.
That's another, I'll give you a link to that. That's another beautiful resource. And see, the films and the books can also be read and seen by the boys. It's not just for the girls.
Yeah, I think that's a key point, isn't it? You know, because I mean, just imagine just the next the next generations coming in again with this awareness, you know, awareness, and not just, I mean, awareness around, I've said this before, and it's a topic for another time, but even awareness around our own, you know, genitalia and so on, you know. It's like boys don't even understand what's going on monthly or daily.
Well, I was going to say, you know, actually we need the same movement for the boys, because they're facing unbelievable challenges now with all of the internet porn and the stuff that's available now. That's a whole nother subject. Yeah. But that's huge, because it's also really messing up the chemistry in their brains, apparently.
Yeah. My friend has spoken a lot about that, and Lucy, she's very much keen to get conversations around that whole the power of pornography and the way that children and teenagers are being educated through the internet, and that
Right.
she typed in the word beautiful sex and into Google, and all that come up was hardcore porn and teen porn.
Right. Right.
So that's a whole, nother, and she's gone on a bit of a mission to create, the beautiful awareness and around what it means to, connect to ourselves intimately, and then also how to have beautiful lovemaking, which isn't just about, pornography and all this other stuff that portrays. So powerful stuff.
Yeah, there was a great TEDx talk. I'll see if I can find the link for you about the effect of the pornography on the male brain and what they're finding. Now there are support groups now for men who are letting go of the addiction, but it's not an easy process, and it's a chemical thing that happens in the brain. Needing this constant stimulation of new stuff and whatever. That's another topic. This is such a huge thing because it's about our life force energy. It's like we said the last time you and I talked. It's not about one little part of our lives. It's about our whole life. Yeah,
and like you said, I think today's awesome because we touched on that, and I hope this creates the conversation for others to have, and they can follow the links. But again, I'm happy. We can keep the dialogue going, continually, and do one around, the pornography, do one around, deepening and what it means to, I just love this. For me, I just love this topic. For me, anything taboo, I want to talk about.
Yeah, that's what we need, bring the skeletons out of the closet.
Yeah, I want to talk about it. I want to talk about the things that nobody wants to talk about, because that's where, for me, the power is. That's where we claim back our responsibility and our power and our, that's where it's at for me.
Yeah. Have you read Naomi Wolf's book called Vagina?
No.
I'll send you a link to that too.
Yeah.
That's very powerful. And she had she had a really deep experience because she had problems with nerves being blocked in her back that destroyed the sensation in her vagina area, and the journey that she went through with that. And she found, and again, this is also connected to the male porn thing, what she found was that it destroyed her will to live, this losing her orgasmic potential.
Yeah.
It was far deeper than just it wasn't a small thing. It was like she went into a real depression about it. And the same thing can be true with this. It messes up with the chemistry in the brain, and
it's power. It's power. And I was speaking to Samjana Moon recently on this. You're going to love the talk we had on this, and she was talking about the cycles of the month, the cycles of the moon, and how also that each month we go through the seasons, like within the seasons, like within the weeks. And she was saying that even understanding a woman where they're going through on an emotional place within the seasons of that monthly cycle, and then how to engage and connect and where people are at. I mean, there's a whole. I mean, again, wait till that talk comes down. But we could talk more on that as well, because even just respecting and honoring when you meet a woman, and from a man's perspective, and really understanding where she's at on her cycle, and communicating to that place and going, hey, where you at in your cycle, what's it like, what you're experiencing. Because in my experience as well, if we go into this, not just the menstrual cycle, but then we go back into what's happening from the vagina, like, okay, we've got blood coming out, but there's also other stuff that happens down there. We have discharge, we have all sorts of different, heat temperatures and things go on. And I've been, even now at 37, and women that I've been with along the way in the last like 10, 15 years, they're all, there's stuff going on down there that's vulnerable, makes you feel embarrassed. It's like we need to be openly talking about that, or not live for everyone talking about it, but you know what I mean, like as a couple.
A lot of women don't even know what's going on in their own body. I mean, we're not raised. It depends where you're raised and who your mom is and all of that,
Yeah.
But I remember it was pretty revolutionary for me when I was a young woman. There was a women's support center that was giving out, I think it was the local Emma Goldman clinic, and they were giving out those speculum things that you could, put in, and we could like put them in and use a mirror and look at ourselves, like the gynecologist saw us,
Okay.
And that was like, do I really? Whoa, it was back then. It was, you didn't do that, you didn't look at yourself like that.
Yeah,
I
powerful.
think that opened up quite a bit. I mean, maybe the porn thing is good from that perspective. At least we accept that that's all airbrushed and stuff too. So.
Yeah, but
that all needs to come out of the closet. Yeah.
Sorry, I lost that. Say that line again. Sorry.
That all needs to come out of the closet too. It's all, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it might be, it's another thing as well, and this is for maybe, well, again, it doesn't matter what age, but again, I think this idea of being able to really look at the genitals. So, I know it's called yoni gazing or lingam gazing, but it's when I first heard that term, I was like, it's quite interesting. But when you start to really do it, and you start to actually, look at what is this thing in between my legs, or what's this beautiful thing that I'm looking at on this partner of mine, and it really does change your level of respect and your level of I suppose awareness. But I think respect is the best thing of going, wow, it's pretty much like when you look at anything in the world and it makes you go, wow, this thing is so like amazing.
Yeah, and to look at it with eyes that don't somehow say, why are we not allowed to look at that?
Yeah.
Really? Who has an answer to that question?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is the ultimate question, is it? Why can't we look at these things? Because again, we've labeled it and come into this place of saying that it's wrong to look at it. If you look at another woman, or you look at another woman in a certain way, you look at a man, or you look at a man in the shower, then you're gay. That was what was said to us when we were young.
Yeah.
Like as boys, it's like, oh, if you look at another man's penis in the shower, you're gay. So and this is a fear that's instilled in you, because not that there's anything wrong with being gay, of course, now, but when you're younger, gay was condemned,
Sure. It still is in a lot of places.
Exactly. So, powerful. Okay, well, listen, I know that's 30 minutes, so unless there's anything you want to talk about, or you want to just wrap it up, and maybe, I think we've covered a nice little bit. How do you feel?
Well, that's good. I think we've covered kind of I don't know, we've touched on a lot of things. If people are interested, they can write to you, they can write to me, to tell us maybe if people want to hear more in these directions, to tell us what directions they want to hear. We can talk many different ways. There's so many different things to look at. I mean, you are saying, what can you do for your girls and boys, right? And I would say the biggest thing is to talk about it, but then also you can talk about your own experience with your kids if they're open to that, what it was like, but also celebrating, to make a celebration for your son or your daughter when they get to that. And there are organizations now, the Red Tent Movement, and there's women's organizations. I'll send you a few links. There are people who are training, they're doing workshops for the parents to help them do the celebration, or they're leading groups for girls who are 10 years old, so they can all talk about it together if it's too hard to talk
Beautiful. Sharing circles.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you send me the links you need. I'll put them all under the video for everybody here. Once, what we'll do, once I've got the page up, we'll put all the links. And we obviously, this talk was about Monthlies, and what's the director's name again?
Diana Fabianova. She lives in Bratislava in Slovakia, and the film is in 5 different languages. As far as I know, I think it's in Slovakian, English, Spanish, French, and German.
Beautiful.
With overdubs, because it's for kids, so it's not with subtitles. It's overdubbed, which is great.
Beautiful.
So, and it's touching, and you can go to the link that I've sent you, and you can download the whole film. They really still need financial help. They got this money from the Indiegogo campaign, but it wasn't really enough. So
as always.
Yeah, I mean, and they'd love to put it into more languages. So any support anybody wants to send in is really appreciated. And I'm donating what I make on the song to the film as well. So
awesome.
Great.
Okay, lovely. Well, this is a little contribution to that, spreading awareness.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tara, for I know your busy schedule, for just taking this time with me today. Thank you all, as always, for tuning in to Simon on the Sofa. There's many talks there for you, and I'm just out there creating these conversations to spread awareness, to contribute to the awareness, really, the awakening of awareness as we continue to evolve, and just, you know, spreading this beautiful love and meeting wonderful people. So yeah, view the links, enjoy the conversations, share, subscribe, and I will see you all on the virtual planes on some video somewhere, somewhere, some, what was I going to say, some planet out there.
Somewhere.
Take care, Tara. Lots of love.
Thank you. You too. It's lovely.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.